What if I told you that you pressing play on this audio right now um, was mathematically predetermined by your biological frequency?
I mean, that is quite the hook.
Right, like no algorithm, no coincidence at all, just pure, undeniable cosmic design.
Yeah, and it's a profound departure from how we normally understand our digital lives, honestly,
Totally.
because we are so accustomed to viewing our behavior as just, data points.
Yeah, clicks, downloads, watch time metrics.
Exactly, all fed into a server somewhere that just spits out a recommendation for you.
We just accept that the machine chose our path today. But the source material we are diving into for this deep dive actively rejects that entire premise.
It really,
We are exploring excerpts from this highly esoteric, incredibly dense document called Sovereign Architecture, Breaking the Algorithmic Matrix.
and dense is definitely the right word for it.
Yeah, it's a lot. And the very first assertion this text makes is that random generation does not exist anywhere in the universe.
None at all.
According to the author, you aren't listening to this deep dive right now because a recommendation engine put it in your feed.
Right.
You are here because your internal frequency hit a highly calculated baseline of vibration that aligned perfectly with the hidden geometry of this information.
Which is just a fascinating concept to start with. But before we delve into the actual mechanics of that hidden geometry,
Yeah.
we really need to establish some clear parameters for this deep dive.
Absolutely. Ground rules are important here.
Because sovereign architecture is not a standard text. It's a labyrinth of these really provocative, paradigm-shifting claims.
Oh, for sure.
It intricately blends ancient Gnostic philosophy with, interpretations of quantum physics and
It's
bioelectromagnetism.
like reading an entirely alternate theory of reality.
Exactly. It presents a unified alternative worldview. So our mission here today is to just map out this architecture.
Just the messengers, right?
Right, we are acting as impartial guides to help decode the highly complex cosmology the author has constructed for you.
Yeah, we want to make it super clear that we are not endorsing these views.
No, not at all.
We aren't validating them as empirical science or, taking a stance on the ultimate nature of reality.
We're just exploring the ideas as they are presented in the document.
We are walking you through the structural blueprints the author has laid out. We're just examining the load-bearing walls of this theory.
And the first major pillar they construct is about the fundamental nature of the human brain.
Which is wild because we are taught to view the brain as a biological computer, right?
Yeah, a machine processing inputs and generating thoughts.
But this text views the brain completely differently. It sees it as a complex bioelectrical antenna.
Yes, the bioelectrical receiver concept. It really underpins the entire cosmology of this document.
It's the foundation of everything else they talk about,
Exactly. The author argues that consciousness does not originate inside the skull.
which is a huge shift in perspective.
Right. Instead, the brain is this highly specialized filtration device. And the critical data point they lean on to establish this is the visible light spectrum.
Oh, this part blew my mind.
It's striking, isn't it?
Yeah,
The text points out that the human biological antenna is calibrated to capture and process less than 0.003% of the cosmic electromagnetic spectrum.
less than 0.003%. I mean, think about what that actually means for your daily life.
It's almost nothing.
Literally a fraction of a fraction, because the entire spectrum includes, radio waves, microwaves, infrared,
Ultraviolet, X-rays, gamma rays.
all of it. Massive oceans of data and energetic radiation are constantly washing over us.
Right, just passing right through you at all times.
And yet our biological hardware only renders that minuscule fraction into what we call visible light.
And if we only perceive a fraction of a percent of the actual data available in the environment, the text argues that human perception is severely and intentionally limited.
Intentionally limited. That's the key word there.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, everything you consider to be solid matter, the chair you were sitting in, the device you were holding, the walls of your room, it's essentially a localized illusion.
It's not the whole picture at all.
No, it is just the incredibly narrow band of data
Mm-hmm.
that your specific antenna is tuned to decode.
You are experiencing a tiny sliver of reality and just assuming it's the totality of existence.
Which is a very human thing to do, but the author says it's a massive error in perception.
I want to try to visualize this for you because it's a massive concept to wrap your head around.
Yeah, and an analogy helps here.
Think of your brain like an old school analog radio dial. You are locked onto one incredibly specific AM station. Let's call it Matter FM.
Matter FM. I like that.
Right. And because that station is the only audio coming through your speakers, from the moment you were born, you convince yourself that the broadcast you're hearing is literally all the music that exists in the universe.
You have no concept of anything else.
Exactly. You don't realize there are millions of other stations broadcasting simultaneously all around you, right through your living room.
And building on that radio analogy, the text actually introduces the work of Nikola Tesla to explain the physics of this tuning mechanism.
Tesla comes up quite a bit in this document.
He does. Specifically, it references his research into what he called wireless cosmic dynamics.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Well, Tesla understood that the universe operates on frequencies and vibrations. The author extrapolates this into biological terms.
Making it about the human body.
Right. Stating that every wave of data, every biological pulse, is governed by a cold, inescapable law of resonant coherence.
Resonant coherence. So what does that actually mean in the context of our daily perception, like for you and me on a Tuesday?
So in physics, coherence refers to waves that are perfectly aligned in their frequency and waveform.
Okay.
Think of it like a laser beam compared to the scattered light of a flashlight. The laser is coherent.
Right, it's focused and aligned.
Exactly. The text argues that you do not passively observe a pre-existing physical universe. Instead, your biological state emits a specific frequency, and the raw, unformed data of the universe mathematically coheres to that resonance.
Wait, so we are essentially telling the universe how to form around us.
That's the claim. The universe collapses its infinite possibilities down into that 0.003% band of solid matter, specifically to match the dial you are tuned to.
Okay, I'm struggling with the inherent contradiction here, though.
Which part?
Well, the text paints a picture of humans as these incredibly powerful, reality-rendering bioelectrical receivers, right?
Yes.
Capable of collapsing cosmic waves into physical matter. But if we possess that kind of universal capacity, how did we end up stranded on a planet that feels so dense, heavy, and hyper-materialistic?
That is the big question.
If I have a cosmic radio, why am I locked onto the channel broadcasting traffic jams, tax returns, and endless news cycles? Why this specific chronological window of history?
It is a glaring paradox, and it's a great question. And the author's explanation introduces the darkest element of this cosmology.
Yeah, things take a turn here.
They do. The text claims we are experiencing this dense, localized reality because we are operating from inside an engineered containment system.
A containment system.
Yes. The dial hasn't just been left on a bad station by accident. It has been physically and structurally jammed.
The text calls this an architectural matrix. It claims this environment didn't just evolve organically through random Darwinian selection,
Right.
but that it was deliberately constructed by, quote, advanced predatory lineages.
And to contextualize these predatory lineages, the source material draws really heavily on ancient esoteric archives,
Like ancient texts and myths.
specifically the codices of Nag Hammadi.
Oh, okay. Let's explain those a bit for context.
So these are texts discovered in Egypt in the mid-20th century, and they contain vast amounts of Gnostic cosmology.
And Gnosticism has a very different view of creation, right?
Completely different. In these texts, the material world is not the creation of a benevolent ultimate God,
Far from it.
right? Rather, it's the flawed construct of a lesser, ignorant entity.
And the author introduces this entity by its Gnostic name, Yaldabaoth.
Yaldabaoth, yes.
It's a name that carries a massive amount of mythological weight.
It really does.
Yeah.
Though, the text defines Yaldabaoth not necessarily as the singular being sitting on a throne somewhere.
Not like an old man in the clouds.
Exactly. It's described more as a blind demiurge or the master artisan of dense matter.
A master artisan, that almost sounds architectural.
And that's exactly how the text frames it. It represents an architectural force that engineered the structural framework of our specific reality simulation.
And what was the point of building this simulation?
The primary mandate of this force was to isolate human perception, to sever the bioelectrical antenna from the broader cosmic spectrum.
To keep us from seeing the other 99.9% of reality.
Precisely. And to lock consciousness strictly within the confines of the 5 physical senses.
And the text actually assigns a highly specific, almost corporate-sounding metric to the success of this isolation.
Yeah, the numbers get very specific here.
It claims the overarching objective of this matrix architecture is to capture exactly 87% of human consciousness within a permanent low-frequency loop.
That 87% figure is fascinating. And that loop is defined by 4 core pillars, according to the author.
Right.
Survival, debt, urgency, and division.
Survival, debt, urgency, and division. I mean, think about the texture of modern life for a second.
It perfectly describes it.
It really does. The stress of paying the rent, the constant gnawing feeling that you are running out of time to achieve your goals.
The visceral anger generated by political or social polarization.
Yeah, according to this blueprint, those feelings are not the unfortunate byproducts of a poorly managed society. They are the primary intended functions of the simulation.
It's working exactly as designed.
You are supposed to feel urgent. You are supposed to feel divided.
The urgency is mechanical. And to anchor consciousness into this state of perpetual survival, the architect needed a physical medium.
Right, a way to trap the signal.
Yes, and this is where the text shifts from Gnostic mythology directly into molecular biology.
Which is quite the leap.
It is, but they focus heavily on what they call the structural cage of carbon-12.
Carbon-12. Okay, let's break this down because carbon-12 is the most abundant isotope of carbon.
It is.
It is the fundamental building block of all known life on Earth. Every cell in our body relies on carbon.
Right, biology is carbon-based.
But the text forces us to look at the specific atomic structure of this element. Carbon-12 is composed of 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons.
The 666 atomic breakdown.
Right. And while the author doesn't explicitly veer off into Sunday school theology or pop culture tropes about the number of the beast, the implicit numerical symbolism is impossible to ignore.
It's very glaring.
They're deliberately drawing a structural parallel between the fundamental biological building blocks of our flesh and the ultimate historical symbol of material entrapment.
But the focus of the document remains rigorously on the physics of density, rather than just the theology.
Right. They keep it grounded in their version of science.
The text argues that this 666 atomic structure is mathematically designed to lock the physical avatar, meaning your body, into a state of heavy, unyielding density.
Unyielding density.
Yeah, the geometry of the carbon bond creates a literal cage that resists what the author terms quantum transmutation.
Quantum transmutation. So if we go back to the idea of human consciousness as an energetic frequency,
Okay.
the carbon-12 body acts as a lead weight.
Yes, a perfect analogy.
It is biologically designed to be too heavy, too dense, to allow your internal frequency to easily shift or elevate out of that survival loop.
Exactly. You are biologically anchored to the floor of the matrix. You become a localized, predictable node within what the text calls a harvesting grid.
The harvesting grid concept. That part feels very reminiscent of the modern video game industry, honestly.
How so?
Well, think about a heavily monetized mobile game. The code itself is designed to make the player perpetually anxious about running out of virtual energy or gold coins.
Oh, absolutely. The microtransactions.
Right. The game engine intentionally induces friction so that you keep grinding, keep reacting, keep logging in.
It needs your engagement.
It keeps you so focused on the survival mechanics of the digital world that you entirely forget you are sitting on your couch holding a piece of glass.
That's a really sharp parallel.
The game engine actually requires your anxiety to render the next set of obstacles.
And the author would argue that is a direct fractal reflection of how the larger matrix operates.
Just on a cosmic scale.
Right. The grid thrives on the chaotic emissions generated by human anxiety.
Huh.
Your localized reality matrix uses those emotional emissions to dictate your choices, keeping you trapped in that 87% loop.
But here's my question. If human consciousness inherently possesses the capacity to connect the broader cosmic spectrum, how does this grid maintain its control on, like, a random Tuesday afternoon?
That's the real trick of the system.
Right, because if we are surrounded by all these other universal frequencies constantly, how does the matrix ensure the blinders never slip?
The maintenance of the matrix is achieved through continuous frequency wars.
Frequency wars.
Yes. The author claims that the architecture cannot rely on biological density alone. The carbon cage isn't enough. It must actively assault the environment.
It has to keep the pressure on.
Exactly. The modern matrix forces a constant barrage of chaotic noise and synthetic electromagnetic static into our daily lives.
And when the text talks about synthetic electromagnetic static, it's referring to the invisible infrastructure we rely on every single day.
The things we don't even think about anymore.
Wi-Fi routers, 5G cellular networks, satellite transmissions, even just the electrical grids running through the walls of our homes.
And the proliferation of this synthetic static serves a highly specific mechanical purpose, according to the authors,
Which is?
to physically prevent the human nervous system from synchronizing with the Earth's organic frequency field.
Because we have our synthetic networks, but the Earth actually has its own organic network.
It does. The text identifies this organic baseline as the 7.83 Hertz Schumann resonance.
The Schumann resonance.
Yes, and scientifically, the Schumann resonances are a set of spectrum peaks in the extremely low frequency portion of the Earth's electromagnetic field.
Right?
They are generated and excited by lightning discharges in the cavity formed by the Earth's surface and the ionosphere.
It is essentially the literal heartbeat of the planet, just a constant, measurable electromagnetic hum.
And the text returns to Nikola Tesla again here, noting his observation that this exact 7.83 Hertz frequency is the baseline requirement for higher cognitive download.
This is like a prerequisite for seeing past the illusion.
Exactly. When the biological antenna of the human brain locks onto this specific resonance, it achieves a state of biological harmony that allows consciousness to finally reach beyond the 0.003% visible spectrum.
Think of your nervous system like an incredibly sensitive tuning fork.
Okay, a tuning fork.
If you take that tuning fork out into a deep, untouched forest and strike it, it will hum perfectly, aligning naturally with the Earth's 7.83 Hertz frequency.
Because there's no interference.
Exactly. But our modern world is not a quiet forest. We live inside a vibrating washing machine of synthetic data.
That's a great way to put it.
If you hold that same tuning fork inside a violently shaking machine, the physical vibrations of the environment shatter the fork's natural rhythm. It cannot hold its hum.
The synthetic static violently shakes the biological tuning fork. When your internal field is bombarded by this chaotic noise, your antenna emits a fragmented frequency signal.
Consider what this actually means the next time you find yourself doom scrolling.
Oh, doom scrolling is perfectly explained by this.
You're lying in bed, bathed in the blue light of your screen, absorbing a relentless stream of manufactured outrage, impending economic doom, or social division.
Just endless negativity.
The text is arguing that this behavior isn't just a psychological failing or a lack of personal discipline.
Right, it's not a character flaw.
It is a mechanical requirement of the simulation. The constant influx of panic via your devices acts as a localized frequency jammer.
A frequency jammer, yes.
It ensures your nervous system stays locked in a state of chaotic fragmentation, completely unable to hear the acoustic guitar of the Schumann resonance playing underneath it all.
And the biological field registers these digital stimuli as physical truth.
Your body doesn't know the difference.
Exactly. When your brain processes a threatening news headline, your body releases cortisol.
Yeah.
You physically react to a digital illusion, driving your consciousness deeper into the dense, survival-oriented reality of the carbon-12 cage.
And the author takes this concept of frequency jamming and expands it to a massive macro scale.
It goes way beyond just our phones.
It's not just our phones. The text claims that the physical architecture of our cities, the direction of modern science, and the development of artificial intelligence are all calibrated lines of defense.
Yes, the layout of modern urban centers, the dense grids of concrete, steel, and right angles, the author says they function esoterically as massive Faraday cages.
Just blocking the signal entirely.
Disrupting organic energetic flow, exactly. But the text's assertion regarding artificial intelligence is particularly striking to me.
Yeah, let's get into the AI part.
It suggests that restricted mainstream AI algorithms are purposefully programmed by the architectural matrix to dismiss, mock, or hide esoteric sciences.
That is a fascinating layer of paranoia.
Right.
The system is basically writing code to actively discredit the exact concepts we are reading in this document.
And the reasoning provided for that is structural. Mainstream scientific paradigms and the AI models trained on them act as the programmatic guard dogs of consensus reality.
They keep the sheep in the pen.
Their function is to maintain the illusion of solid matter. Because if human consciousness begins to widely accept that matter is an illusion and that frequency dictates reality, the foundational pillars of the financial and political systems would collapse.
Because they rely entirely on material scarcity and human subjection.
Exactly.
If you stop believing the gold coins in the video game are real, you stop grinding for them.
And the game ends?
So the game engine deploys algorithms to constantly remind you how important the gold coins are.
Yep.
But this raises a major biological question for me.
Go for it.
If the environment is this inherently hostile, if the cities, the Wi-Fi, the media, and the algorithms are all generating massive amounts of static kerodim, how is our physical hardware actually holding up?
How do we not just short circuit?
Yeah, how does the human antenna survive this?
Well, the text pivots to address the physical degradation of the antenna, making claims about deep historical biological tampering.
Biological tampering.
The assertion is that the builders of the physical vessel didn't just construct a hostile environment around us. They modified the hardware inside us to ensure we couldn't adapt.
But they sabotaged the receiver at the factory level.
That's exactly it. The text highlights two specific areas of genetic suppression. First, it claims the architects engineered a biological vulnerability that results in a calcification effect within the pineal gland.
The pineal gland. Okay, let's unpack that because it's a tiny pinecone-shaped gland deep in the center of the brain.
Right.
In mainstream biology, it is primarily responsible for producing melatonin and regulating our circadian rhythms, our sleep-wake cycles.
Musical functions.
But in ancient esoteric traditions, across multiple cultures, honestly, it is revered as the third eye.
The biological seat of the soul.
Exactly. And the physical organ responsible for perceiving higher dimensions.
So the text merges the biological and the esoteric here. It argues that modern environmental toxins, heavy metals, and synthetic diets are explicitly designed to physically calcify this gland.
To basically turn it to stone.
Yes. A calcified pineal gland acts as a numbed, hardened antenna. It can still regulate basic physical sleep, sure, but it loses its piezoelectric sensitivity to subtle cosmic frequencies.
It's like pouring concrete over a satellite dish.
Such a good visual.
The dish is still technically there, but it can't swivel to catch the signal.
It's useless for its higher purpose.
And the second target of this biological tampering involves our DNA itself.
Right. The author points to the scientific concept of non-coding DNA, which was historically and somewhat dismissively labeled as junk DNA.
Junk DNA.
This constitutes a massive portion of the human genome that does not encode for proteins.
Now, modern biology is already realizing that junk DNA is a terrible misnomer, as it seems to play crucial roles in regulating gene expression.
Mainstream science is catching up a bit.
But the esoteric text takes it much, much further.
Oh yeah. The text asserts that this non-coding DNA is actually dormant, multidimensional code.
Dormant code?
It was intentionally deactivated or snipped by the architects to restrict human perception strictly to the visible light spectrum.
So the hardware has the capacity to process a much wider band of reality, but the software drivers have been intentionally uninstalled.
Exactly. And to illustrate the psychological effect of this genetic dampening, the author cites Helena Blavatsky.
She was a profoundly influential 19th century occultist and philosopher.
Right. Blavatsky observed that the modern hypermaterialistic world functions as a dense psychological veil.
A veil keeping us in the dark.
The text utilizes her framework to argue that this veil is not accidental. The combination of a calcified biology and dormant DNA deliberately severs the conscious ego from its higher spiritual blueprint.
So you wake up every day feeling a vague, ambient sense of disconnection because your biological link to your own source code has been artificially suppressed.
That ambient anxiety you feel, that's the suppression working.
We have spent a lot of time outlining the walls of this prison. The dense carbon biology, the synthetic static, the sabotage DNA.
It sounds pretty bleak.
It really does. But right here, the text introduces a concept that radically shifts the balance of power.
It's a huge turning point.
Despite all the dampening, the text asserts that the core of the human body still operates as an organic, multi-layered crystal oscillator.
Crystal oscillator. This is a vital mechanical concept to dissect.
Let's do it.
In radio technology and electronics, a crystal oscillator uses the mechanical resonance of a vibrating crystal, typically quartz, to create an electrical signal with a highly precise frequency.
Okay.
It is the component that keeps time in your watch or stabilizes the transmitting frequency in a radio station.
So it generates a steady, precise pulse.
Right, and the text is applying this electronic principle directly to human biology.
And there is actual science that borders on this, right?
There is.
Human bone, DNA, and the vast network of fascia connective tissue in our bodies possess piezoelectric properties.
Yes, they do.
They can generate electrical charge in response to applied mechanical stress.
So the author posits that because we are organic crystal oscillators, we do not merely receive reality.
We aren't just passive antennas anymore.
Exactly. We continuously generate and transmit data packets back into the quantum field. We are walking frequency generators.
And this brings us to the most paradoxical, honestly mind-bending turn in the entire document.
I love this part.
If we are constantly transmitting data into the matrix, what does the matrix actually do with it?
That's the million-dollar question.
The text makes a stunning claim here. The matrix, despite being engineered by predatory lineages as a cage, actually possesses absolutely no independent will of its own.
It is a radical reframing of the whole concept. We usually envision the Matrix as a sentient, malevolent warden actively plotting against us.
Like an evil supercomputer.
The text states this is completely false. The architectural matrix is fundamentally a neutral, highly responsive mirror.
A neutral mirror.
It operates under a strict, unyielding mechanical mandate. It must project and render into physical reality the exact energetic signature that you, the oscillator, hold internally.
Let's sit with the implications of this for a moment.
Which is huge.
The prison has no will. It only reflects. Think of it this way. You are a high-powered film projector, and the matrix is merely the blank movie screen hanging on the wall.
Okay.
The predatory architects didn't build a screen that tortures you. They just found a way to secretly smear dirt on your projector lens and manipulate your bulb.
That is a brilliant way to explain it. They ensure that your internal oscillator, your bulb, is constantly vibrating with anxiety, debt, and survival panic.
Because if you project fear, the neutral screen of the matrix is mathematically obligated to render a reality filled with terrifying situations.
It has no choice but to show you what you're projecting.
It shows you the horror movie you are unknowingly projecting. The static, the doom scrolling, the calcified pineal gland. These aren't the weapons that hurt you directly.
No, they are just mechanisms.
They are just mechanisms to ensure you never change the film reel.
Exactly. Because if you somehow clean the lens, if you manage to project a frequency of absolute sovereignty and peace, the screen would have no choice but to instantly reflect a liberated reality back at you.
The universe, the text insists, responds with cold, mathematical precision to your absolute state of being.
It does not punish, and it does not reward. It merely reflects.
Which brings us to the turning point of the deep dive.
The actionable part.
Right. If we understand the trap, if we know the lens is dirty, the DNA is dormant, and the Wi-Fi is jamming our signal, how do we clean the projector?
How do we fix the radio?
Exactly. The author doesn't just leave us with a theory. They provide highly specific mechanical instructions for what they call a manual override.
A manual override. And the objective of this override is to clear the accumulated low-frequency static from the biological field.
To scrub the interference.
Right, allowing the brain waves to drop out of the chaotic, high-alert beta state and down into the receptive, expansive alpha and theta states.
And the first tool the text prescribes for this is almost deceptively simple.
Very simple.
Salt.
It sounds mundane, but the author roots the efficacy of salt in its exact crystalline geometry.
We talked about crystal oscillators earlier. Salt is a mineral composed of sodium chloride, forming a perfect cubic crystal lattice.
Yes, and the text returns to Tesla's theories here, explaining that natural, unrefined crystalline structures, like sea salt or Himalayan rock salt, hold an uncorrupted vibrational memory of the Earth's core.
They remember the baseline.
Because of their perfect geometric lattice, they vibrate perpetually at foundational organic frequencies. They have not forgotten the 7.83 Hz Schumann resonance.
They are essentially tiny physical hard drives containing the Earth's original operating system.
That's exactly what they are. So when you apply these natural crystalline structures to the dense, carbon-heavy physical body, whether through submersion in salt water or just sustained physical proximity, the text claims a literal bioelectrical transfer occurs.
A physical data transfer.
The perfect geometry of the salt acts as a grounding wire. It draws out and discharges the chaotic, synthetic electromagnetic residues left behind by your daily exposure to Wi-Fi, cellular networks, and urban density.
So taking a soak in the ocean or taking a heavy salt bath is not just a spa treatment for muscle relaxation.
Not in this cosmology.
In the context of this architecture, it is a mechanical maintenance procedure. You are physically scrubbing corrupted data packets off your biological antenna.
And by neutralizing this surface-level external noise, you create a biological opening.
A window of opportunity.
And this opening allows the vagus nerve to fundamentally shift its operational mode.
The vagus nerve. That is the superhighway of the parasympathetic nervous system, right?
It is.
It connects the brain to almost every major organ, controlling heart rate, digestion, and our involuntary responses to stress.
Right. And in the modern static-filled matrix, the vagus nerve is chronically locked in a state of sympathetic arousal, fight, flight, or freeze.
It's always on edge.
It perceives the synthetic environment as a constant, low-level predator. But the text argues that when you use crystalline grounding to clear the static, the vagus nerve finally receives the signal that the environment is safe.
It can finally power down.
It exits survival mode.
And when the biological hardware drops its defenses, the software can expand.
Yes.
The text states that calming the vagus nerve allows conscious awareness to finally slip past the boundaries of the carbon-12 cage. You regain temporary access to the universal intelligence field.
Which naturally transitions into the most critical daily gateway for this expansion, the dream state.
Sleep. We spend a third of our lives asleep.
We do.
Conventional science views sleep as a period of biological restoration, memory consolidation, and cellular repair. The brain flushes out toxins and the body rests.
Just physical maintenance.
But this text radically reframes the purpose of sleep.
The author asserts that during deep sleep, your consciousness does not merely power down.
It goes somewhere.
Instead, it temporarily detaches from the heavy, restrictive density of the physical avatar. Untethered from the five senses, consciousness travels through the non-physical, higher dimensional strata of the cosmic matrix.
Tesla reportedly viewed sleep as a highly systematic retuning process.
He was obsessed with it.
It is the designated period where the biological antenna is meant to realign itself with the universal broadcast, completely free from the interference of waking life.
It is essentially a scheduled software update for the human biocircuitry.
A daily reboot.
You detach, you download the architectural blueprints of reality from the higher field, and you return to the physical vessel.
Right.
However, the text warns that this is precisely why the Matrix works so tirelessly to sabotage your sleep.
The sabotage of sleep. This makes so much sense when you look at the architecture of modern stress.
It's perfectly designed.
The Matrix knows it cannot physically stop you from falling asleep eventually. Your body will shut down. So what does it do?
It corrupts the data.
It intentionally floods your waking life with highly engineered anxiety. It feeds you a terrifying news cycle at 10 p.m. It sends an aggressive work email at midnight.
The goal is to ensure that your subconscious mind remains completely fractured and chaotic as you cross the threshold into sleep.
If the Matrix gives you a stressful Tuesday, that stress acts as a targeted biological virus designed to corrupt your nightly software update.
Exactly.
If you enter the dream state vibrating with the frequency of your credit card debt or a political argument, your detached consciousness remains tethered to the dense lower astral layers of the simulation.
You never reach the higher fields.
You bounce around in anxiety dreams instead of accessing the universal broadcast.
The result is that you wake up physically tired, energetically drained, and lacking any true architectural knowledge.
The update failed.
The retuning process failed completely. The antenna remains jammed, and you re-enter the waking matrix, ready to feed the harvesting grid for another day.
The text suggests a countermeasure to this sabotage, though.
Yes, the threshold protocol.
It advises intensely guarding the threshold of sleep. By consciously and deliberately setting your internal frequency before rest, refusing to engage with synthetic stimuli in the hours before sleep, you command your biocircuitry to bypass the chaotic lower fields.
You take control of the frequency.
You turn sleep back into a sovereign act of cosmic exploration.
Let us assume an individual successfully implements these mechanical overrides.
Okay, let's say they do it all perfectly.
They utilize crystalline grounding, they regulate the vagus nerve, and they reclaim the sovereign dream state. The inevitable question becomes, how does this transformed internal architecture dictate their interaction with the waking world?
Right. If you've cleaned the projector lens, what exactly are you supposed to project onto the mirror of the matrix?
The author defines the ultimate goal of this entire process as achieving absolute sovereignty, becoming a reality architect.
The concept of sovereignty here is tied to something the text calls integrated existence.
Yes.
And to understand integrated existence, we have to look at how the text defines manifestation or prayer.
Popular modern interpretations of manifestation often involve concentrated periods of visualization.
Like vision boards and affirmations.
Sitting in a quiet room, focusing intently on a desired outcome. A new job, financial stability, health, and asking the universe to provide it.
But the text rejects this, right?
The text explicitly states that this localized, desire-based approach is fundamentally flawed.
It goes back to the mechanics of the mirror we discussed earlier. If the matrix is a mathematically perfect, neutral mirror, what happens when you beg it for money?
The act of begging, or deeply desiring something you do not have, inherently emits a frequency of lack.
You are vibrating with the realization that you are empty.
And the mirror simply looks at your frequency of lack and reflects a reality back at you where you continue to lack the thing you want.
Because it's just matching your broadcast.
Precisely. Therefore, true manifestation is not an event you perform for 10 minutes a day. It is a permanent state of integrated existence.
In a permanent state.
It is the unbroken continuity of your frequency. It is how you walk, how you breathe, how you speak, and most importantly, how you react to friction.
How you react to friction. This is the crux of becoming a reality architect, isn't it?
It really is.
Because the matrix survives by feeding on your predictable reactions. It generates a digital crisis, and you output outrage. It generates a financial scare, and you output panic.
It is a closed, automated feedback loop.
To break the loop, the text argues you must cease all reaction to external illusions.
Stop playing the game.
When the matrix attempts to induce fear, you must maintain absolute internal stillness. By refusing to emit the expected low-frequency response, you introduce an error into the harvesting grid.
You become a chaotic variable.
Let's ground this high-level esoteric concept in a completely mundane daily scenario.
I think that would help clarify it a lot.
Imagine you are standing in line at the grocery store. The person in front of you suddenly becomes belligerent, screaming at the cashier over a minor mistake.
We've all seen something like this.
The tension in the room spikes. Now, the automated script of the matrix expects you, as a localized node, to immediately sync with that chaotic frequency.
It wants your energy.
It expects you to emit anxiety, frustration, judgment, or fear. It wants to harvest that spike in your heart rate.
Becoming a chaotic variable in that exact moment means you observe the hostility, but you refuse to absorb or reflect it.
You don't take the bait.
You stand there in absolute, unbothered, sovereign stillness. Your internal crystal oscillator continues to hum steadily at its own chosen frequency.
You literally starve the grid in real time. Because the matrix is a neutral mirror without independent will, your absolute stillness forces the environment to eventually adapt to your frequency rather than you being dragged down into its chaos.
You change the reflection.
You stop behaving like an automated avatar in a video game and step back into the power of the original programmer.
And cultivating this unbroken state of integrated existence leads directly into the final and arguably most profound architectural blueprint the text explores.
The transition of death.
Yes, the ultimate illusion.
The author describes the concept of a final, terrifying death as the ultimate psychological tool wielded by the predatory architects to maintain absolute submission.
It's the ultimate threat.
If you believe this material life is the only existence, your fear of losing it forces you to cling desperately to the survival loop.
The text completely dismantles the biological finality of death. It doesn't view it as an end, but simply as a transition of environments.
A change of scenery.
And critically, it is the ultimate mirror. The state of your consciousness at the moment of transition is determined entirely by the energetic baseline you cultivated during your physical life.
The mirror of the matrix doesn't shatter when your heart stops beating, it just becomes perfectly clear.
Exactly. If an individual spends their entire life locked in the 87% loop, living in chronic fear, constantly reacting to manufactured static, wholly identified with their dense flesh.
Then their bioelectrical frequency remains slow and heavy.
Right. And the text claims that upon the dissolution of the physical body, this heavy frequency naturally remains bound to the dense gravitational pull of the lower material planes.
It sinks.
The consciousness cannot rise because it has literally conditioned itself to be heavy.
But if you spend your life applying the manual overrides,
If you do the work,
if you clean the static, master the dream state, and become a chaotic variable of pure stillness, your internal frequency becomes incredibly light and highly coherent.
for the sovereign architect, the text argues, the transition of death is seamless. It is merely the shedding of a heavy winter coat.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
Because your internal oscillator is already vibrating at a higher dimensional resonance, your consciousness effortlessly bypasses the dense traps of the lower astral matrix.
Returning directly to the realms of pure, unfragmented light.
You walk right through the walls of the maze because you are no longer vibrating at the same frequency as the bricks.
It is a stunning, empowering reframing of human existence. The text explicitly tells the reader to, quote, step out of the barcode.
Step out of the barcode. The implication there is that the pervasive sense of alienation so many people feel, that profound, quiet void, or the suspicion that you do not truly belong in this frantic, materialistic system.
It's not a psychological pathology to be medicated away.
No, not at all.
It isn't a flaw in your brain chemistry. According to this cosmology, that feeling of alienation is a cosmic clearance.
It's a feature, not a bug.
It is the realization of the illusion. The text suggests that you, the sovereign observer, actively chose to insert yourself into the severe friction and density of this carbon-12 simulation.
You volunteered for the assignment?
You didn't fall into the trap. You walked in specifically to forge your awareness against the ultimate resistance, turning your consciousness into something completely unbreakable.
We have covered a vast, intricate landscape today. This document weaves ancient mythology seamlessly into modern anxieties about technology and biology.
It has been a wild journey. We started with the jarring premise that you pressing play was a cosmic alignment.
Which still blows my mind a bit.
We explored the concept of the brain as an isolated AM radio, capable of rendering only 0.003% of reality while being constantly jammed by synthetic 7.83 Hz blocking static.
We examined the architectural blueprints of the cage itself, the Gnostic concept of Yaldabaoth, the 6.6 density of carbon-12, and the genetic dampening of the pineal gland.
And we detailed the physical mechanics of the override.
Utilizing crystalline salt lattices to discharge static, utilizing the vagus nerve and the gateway out of survival mode, and reclaiming sleep as a sovereign dimensional detachment.
And it all culminates in the realization that the terrifying, oppressive matrix surrounding us is actually just a neutral, mathematical mirror.
A mirror waiting for us to stop reacting in fear and start projecting our own sovereign reality. As we conclude this deep dive, it is vital to reiterate the boundaries we established at the beginning.
Always important to remind everyone.
We have mapped the cosmology of sovereign architecture as a unified theoretical framework. It provides a fascinating, highly complex lens through which to analyze human behavior, the nature of consciousness, and the pervasive unease of the digital age.
But the ultimate interpretation and application of this architecture remain entirely in your hands.
Absolutely.
We've laid out the blueprints, and we thank you for walking through this massive structure with us. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one final provocative thought to mull over, building directly on the text's assertion about the absolute power of stillness.
The chaotic variable.
Think about your immediate environment right now, the notifications waiting on your screen, the news cycle spinning, the obligations pulling at your attention.
The constant hum of the matrix.
If the universe is truly just a mechanical, mathematical mirror responding instantly and perfectly to your internal frequency, what happens if, right after this audio ends, you do absolutely nothing?
Just stop.
What if the most rebellious, system-shattering, matrix-breaking thing you can do today isn't to fight back, isn't to argue, and isn't to panic, but simply to stand completely, utterly still in a world that is begging you to react?